Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio. Today I'm sharing with you my Pick a Stick Challenge Artist Trading Card for the month of October 2018. The Pick a Stick Challenge is a Facebook group brought to you by myself and Peg Robinson, and every month we offer a randomly drawn, prompt-driven challenge for a art journal page and an artist trading card. And this is my version for this month of October of the artist trading card. So the color for this month was orange. Well, the colors that we picked were orange and brown, which was amazing considering it was October. But for this one, there's just one color, so it's orange. And I thought I would use one of these vinyl artist trading cards from Shannon Green's Etsy shop. She sells custom keepers and all these type of things, and she's working very hard on having a small business that will support herself and her family, and she makes all these things out of vinyl billboards, which is recycling and reusing these huge pieces of material that really don't have a use after they've been brought down off the billboard. So she sells a pack of 10 ATCs, and I will link them in the description box below the video where you can find them. And it's an interesting material. It's very durable, and you can put all kinds of media on it. It has a bumpy surface, kind of, so it takes to paints and different things, and also collage, which is, of course, my #1 medium. And so I decided to collage some of my different orange papers on there. I have a plastic box full of orange paper scraps, and I tore them into strips, and I had this idea to do kind of this weaving effect with all these different orange papers that are all orange colors but aren't all the same. And some of them have different other colors on them, like a little bit of blue or a little bit of yellow, because they were gel prints, or they were painty papers, or they were leftover paint, bits of stenciling, whatever. And so I'm weaving them on and then gluing them down using Liquitex matte gel medium as I go, and covering up this background. It looks like, I don't know what that was on the edge, but I think it was maybe one of those QR code things. I don't know why that would be on a billboard, but it's kind of what it looks like. You get what you get with the vinyl pieces, because she just, you know, she has whatever she can get, and then she cuts it up. So the idea, well, some of them have beautiful covers, and some of them are things that you need to cover up. But I mean, I would be covering up my journal cover anyway, because that's part of the art process for art journaling to me. So this is a little bit fiddly. It's I was getting glue on my fingers and stuff, but it was fun, and it made an interesting background that I wouldn't have got any other way. I guess I could have got something similar if I glued little tiny squares, but I didn't want to glue little tiny squares. Who wants to do that? So it's different. And it's all very orange, and that was my point, was to use the color for this month, which was orange. I still can't believe we randomly drew orange in the month of October. That's kind of spooky. So getting all these stuck down using an old scrubby brush that I use for gel medium, making sure that I cover up whatever is on the vinyl underneath. This does give it kind of a bumpy texture. Also, it has a little bit of a feel to it, because it's, you know, going in and out on the weaving. So it was a fun thing to do. I could have cut the paper and made it into more uniform strips, but that wasn't really what I wanted either. I wanted it to be kind of random and interesting and textural and fun. So after this is all glued down with the gel medium, and I'm sure that all the edges are glued and everything, then I'm going to give this a good dry with my heat tool to speed up the process. I like to dry things, but that makes that vinyl really hot, really, really hot. So I When I first picked it up, I burned my fingers a little bit. I mean, not visibly, but you know, just kind of like, huh, that's a little bit hot. Maybe I should have let that dry. So there's my background of oranges. And the next step, the first step, is dots. And so I was going to use my favorite mark making tool, which is that tube, but then I decided it would be too big for an ATC. So I took a cap off of a little squirt bottle that I have on my desk. It's got alcohol in it, and I use it to spray onto stuff sometimes. And I'm using some blue acrylic paint, a very brilliant sapphire blue color. Blue and orange are complementary colors. Plus there was also a little bit of blue or turquoisey color peeking through from the background where those lines were on the vinyl. So I just went with it. And then I also sponged the edges to give it a little bit of a border using that same blue color of acrylic paint. And I got that good and dry to make sure that it was completely dry. And then I'm going to bring in some Posca pens in a set, and I'm going to use some of the different Posca pens. These have acrylic paint in them. They are an acrylic paint pen, and they're just the best thing since sliced bread. And I'm using an Arteza water tank brush and a little bit of that acrylic paint in these pens, and I'm just filling in the dots. But because I'm using that water, it's making it kind of more like a watercolor effect. It's not completely covering the background design, which is what I wanted. That's the reason that I use the water. And then I'm also using a couple, a blue and a yellow, which are primary colors. You know, red, blue, and yellow are the primary colors. And the next prompt is primary. And so I decided that that's what that prompt meant to me today. Primary colors. So I've got a blue and a yellow on there that are primary colors. I didn't use red, but there is red in orange. So, you know. Then I used my white Posca pen to add a little highlight and give a little dimensionality to those dots. And there we have dots and also primary. The next prompt was vintage. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, this thing is vintage. I don't do vintage very often. But I had this piece of what was a sack from a store, and I believe someone sent it to me in Happy Mail, or I may have got it at a gift store, but I think it was in Happy Mail. And I saw these little vintage dip pins image here on the sack, and I thought, you know what, I can go with that. So I cut them out, fussy cutted them out. Make sure that you have some sharp scissors. And it's a good idea to have a Teflon coating on your scissors too when you're doing a lot of collage like I do, because it helps keep them clean from all the gooey goo that I use all the time. So I recommend that. I'll link those in the description box below the video as well. So then I of course collage this on to my ATC and make sure that it's good and pressed down on there. Give it a good dry. And there's my vintage dip pins. And then I'm giving them some highlights. The one on the right side appears that it might have had a glass barrel. So I'm using a light blue and a white Posca pen to highlight that glass to make it look, you know, stand out from the background a little bit more, and also add some of the other highlights. And then on the other pen, I use just the white to highlight where I think was probably metal parts of the pen, and just make them more interesting, more visually appealing. And then I give that a shadow using a Stabilo All pencil, which is a water reactive pencil, and of course then my water tank brush. I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, please remember to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment or a question below the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on your notification bell so that you know when the videos are coming out, and of course share this if you know someone who would be interested in it. So once all that is dry, then my last thing is to just add a little bit of a sentiment on there, and I decided to use some blue India ink and a dip pen This one's plastic, not nearly as fancy as these vintage ones that are in the picture, but I just put on there, write your own story. And that was it for this ATC. And here come the close-ups. Thanks. Bye-bye.